Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Bonnie and here we are. I am pouring wisdom into your life. We've reached the point where I am ready to share exactly what I am currently learning about, which is really exciting. I have started this book. You can't read it because I don't know how to reverse things here on YouTube. It's called A Hunter-Gatherer's Guide to the 21st Century. And it's written by two evolutionary biologists. I may butcher their names. Heather Heying, hopefully is her name, and Brett Weinstein. And they are a married couple. I heard them talk separately on a podcast and also together on a podcast. And the way that they were talking inspired me to go to the library and get their book. And it's going to be a bit of a, I don't want to say slog because that implies that it's like not enjoyable to read, but it's really stimulating me intellectually. It is difficult to read because I don't know all the words that they're using and I'm having to sort of inference around, like read around the word to try to figure out what they're talking about, or actually like Google the definition so that I can really be on board. And it's been a long time since I've read a book that has challenged me intellectually, so I'm pretty excited about that. So you might hear my passion for learning coming through here. And I thought I would go chapter by chapter. And so maybe in the title of this, I will even this video, I'll even put the chapters. So in case you're curious about which chapter it is, you can read along. And it starts talking, I've only read the first chapter. And the first chapter is getting some definitions out of the way so that we can understand what's going to go on through the rest of the book. And I really liked how they identified some specific words that we use in everyday language. I really liked their definition of them. And it made me reread the passages a couple of times, as well as really think about it. So that's what I wanted to share with you. I took some notes. I'm going to read verbatim right out of the book here. So it's going to be maybe a little choppier than usual and potentially less hand gestures. I'm very much a hand talker, especially when I am enthusiastic. So the first thing that I want to define, it's their definition, not my definition, is consciousness. So consciousness is something that I think we intuitively understand. We know that we're conscious beings, we're thinking beings, but there isn't a definition that everyone agrees with what the definition of consciousness is. And this is a really important topic right now, actually, because we are advancing artificial intelligence. And so computer science and psychology and anthropology and sociology and evolutionary biology and all of these disciplines are kind of getting together, wrestling with this understanding of what consciousness is, and does that make us uniquely human, or are there other species that have consciousness, and what does it mean, and all of these things. So I really enjoyed and think that their definition of what consciousness is a really good one as we think about consciousness. So I'm going to read it exactly. So consciousness is the fraction of cognition that is packaged for exchange. Cool. So the fraction of cognition, so that piece that we're thinking about is packaged, meaning that we're able to share that thinking with another member of our species, or even potentially not our species. Oh, hello, ghost door opening. Let's just close that because that changes the lighting. The latches on both of these doors don't work, so that might happen frequently. I must have been too excited and I created too much wind in my hand gestures. All right, just a little side note. I could edit it if I knew how to edit, and I don't know how to edit. I just want to speak as if this is a live, so I'm just going to keep going. So it's sort of the thoughts that can be communicated with others is what I kind of interpreted that as. Okay, so that's consciousness. So then another one that I think is really important is called theory of mind. And you can take a second, theory of mind, what would that be? Well, theories are like ideas that people are wrestling with. It's not proven, but it's kind of like a discussion of things. The mind, that is, maybe it's our brain, maybe it's our consciousness, it's how we think. Okay. So they have the theory of mind specifically, and I might be totally wrong with my surmising there. That was pre-learning their definition. Their definition is understanding what is in the mind of another. And humans are really unique in this, how complex we can understand what's going on in the minds of others compared to other species. Other species do it, particularly like group species, wolves, dolphins, like ants, colony species that all work together. Presumably they have an understanding of what's going on in each other's minds, but ours is very, very sophisticated. So what she says is amazing, what I think is amazing, maybe what he says is amazing, whichever author wrote this. So for humans, we can accurately pass complex abstraction from one mind to another simply by vibrating the air between us. Yeah, we don't think about that. They say it's like an everyday magic that we don't even, like, it's out of our awareness. But that is really, really interesting. Like right now, the way that I'm communicating with you, not even like the technology side of things, but even just what I'm physically doing, I'm thinking here in my brain, and then I'm translating that into words. But what that actually is making sounds that are vibrating the air molecules that are passing that you're then hearing in your ear. And then it's like transmitting it into an electrical signal. And it's going to your brain and then you're interpreting it. And it's like, yeah, it's very complex and very cool. And we're like, yeah, whatever. We talk. Like shrug it off. Like it's not this like amazing thing that's happening. So I thought that was really cool. The way that they explained it so precisely and then reiterated the fact that that actually is quite extraordinary. Okay, so then I have to read a whole section verbatim for you. So you may not actually find this exciting, but maybe you find me finding it exciting, and this video will still be entertaining for you. So I'm going to read this whole paragraph. And when I'm looking down, I'm reading it. And then when I'm looking at the camera and looking at you, I'm like emphasizing things or saying words that are mine. Okay, here we go. So for theory of mind to function, one needs to run an emulation of the other person's within one's own head. Okay, right? For us to understand what is going on in someone else's mind, we have to like pretend in our mind what we think is going on in their mind. For me to benefit from a comparison between what I think on one hand and what I understand you to think on the other, I am all but required to have a subjective experience of both you and me to bring the two into a single currency. Oh, it's light. I apologize. I don't know how to fix that. That'll be how I fix it for the next video. I'll work on the door for the next video. Okay, I got distracted. Yeah, so in order for all of that to happen, I need to have a subjective experience of both of us. So subjective is like my interpretation of it, as opposed to objective, which sort of removes it's just factual. It removes any of the nuance and presupposition and meaning that we assign to it, right? So I'm assigning meaning because it's my subjective experience. Shared consciousness is, this door. I wish I knew I know how to pause. Let me see if I can pause and then figure this out. Okay, problem solved, Home Alone style. Like I have played a trick on my siblings and they're locked in each other's rooms and I'm like, hopefully that will solve the door problem. Okay, gosh, I'm on a roll. I don't want to restart because I feel like I'm excited. So here we go. Shared consciousness is an emergent intangible space between people where concepts are lodged and co-cultivated. There's a lot of really big words in there. And I think what it's talking about, we've got this consciousness here, we're able to share ideas with each other. And in order for that to happen, there is multiple people, two or more of us, and we're creating this like imaginary space between us where the ideas live. I think that's what they're saying. Each participant has a distinct perspective on the space, much as each witness to a physical event will have a somewhat different vantage point, but the space is a property of the collective. I thought this was really cool. This is a really beautiful way to talk about how the human experience is very much a shared experience together. And I really, that theory of mind, for it to work, like all of that paragraph, I had to read that a couple of times, and I'm still not even like as solid. I'm not going to go teach a lecture on this paragraph. I would need to really dive in a little bit more, but I thought that it was worth reading verbatim because that's like the language of this book. Okay, so where am I going with this? Excellent question. Taking action. I've lost. Oh, this is where this was leading, which I thought was really, really, really interesting. So then that's talking about consciousness specifically. And then she moves on, and he moves on. Sorry, there's a male and a female author. I'm going to use the terms interchangeably, plus they. They then move on to talking about culture and what's the difference between culture and consciousness. And this I thought was really, really fascinating. So consciousness, what they're talking about, and this idea we're sharing is really essential for problem solving. And the way this book is written, the hunter-gatherers, they're like bringing it way back. So the first chapter is how about here at the campfire, we discuss ideas, we bring our perspective, we share our knowledge, and we co-create solutions together that benefit the whole group, is like kind of the thesis that I took from this. But consciousness is all the theoretical discussion of it. We don't have the like action taking part of it. And the action taking part is also really important. So when we're taking action, the conscious mind is like a spectator. The conscious mind is there, but it's not in the driver's seat. And when we take action and we repeat it, and it's one person, they're taking this repetitive action, it becomes habitual. They're so good at it. It's, they're a natural at it. It's a bit habitual. We call that a skill or a craft of the individual. And again, this is totally from the book. This is not my words. It's a skill or a craft. That's the individual level. Then when we have at the family level or the tribe level, we call that tradition. Yeah, so it's a skill when it's an individual, but when it's the whole group all together that have habitually done this, we call that tradition. And if we scale that up bigger than the tribe, bigger than the family unit, now we call that culture. And I thought that was a really cool definition of culture and how culture shapes us and we shape culture. That was really, really cool. Okay, so then I have another thing to read exactly like they say. Page 9. And I gave myself a little cheat to start. Homo sapiens. Oh yeah, okay. This is really cool. So everything. This whole chapter has been really cool. So us, Homo sapiens, they're specifically talking about Homo sapiens, kind of have these two modes. We have the consciousness problem-solving mode, and then we have this culture, traditional, it's on rote, it's in memory, muscle memory, a tradition, like we're doing things habitually. Those two different kinds of modes. So here we go. That's my explanation, and here's the verbatim explanation. Homo sapiens, therefore, oscillate between two dominant modes. When we face problems for which our prior understanding is inadequate, we become conscious. I love this. So here's a new problem. We're like, I can't just like dupe my way through this problem. I need to switch into my conscious mind where I'm actively problem solving. They use the example, how do we feed ourselves in this new land? So obviously hunter-gatherers are like relocating. It's new. Now what do? We plug our minds into a shared problem-solving space and share what we know, right? So this is that campfire, sitting around the campfire, talking about our experience, gathering ideas together, coming up with solutions together. Then we parallel process, proposing hypotheses, providing observations, offering challenges, until we arrive at a new answer, one that an individual would rarely reach alone. Essentially brainstorming. One of my favorite things to do in the world is to brainstorm with other people, and that's exactly what they're talking about. If the result works well when tested in the world, it gets refined and then driven into a more automatic, less deliberative layer. right? So we initially problem solve, we come up with an idea, we try it. Oh, this works really well. Let's make it a little bit better. Let's improve it this way. Oh, let's do it again. Oh, let's do it again. Oh, it's totally working. Okay, we just automatically always do this because this is the solution. This is culture. I have never thought about culture using these words before. And it's just shifted how I'm thinking about like my own personal culture as a Canadian, right? So we've got national cultures that we talk about. And in the English speaking world, we really like to sort of nitpick the differences between like British English culture and Australian English culture and Canadian English culture and American English culture and all of these things. And I know that in Latin America, they like to do it too. What's different between Mexican Hispanic culture versus Peruvian Hispanic culture versus Chilean Hispanic culture, et cetera, et cetera. So we like to do this in a national sense. But we also have culture, like we want to create corporate culture. What's your business culture? What's your workplace culture environment like? What's your family culture like? And why is culture important? Well, it's because the culture that we are putting ourselves in, that we're choosing specifically, are going to ultimately shape our behaviors kind of at the unconscious level, because it's going to become habitual. We're not going to actively be thinking about it anymore. The culture is going to seep into us and shape our behaviors. That's like my main thesis for why this video is important, because I've never made that connection before. Why culture is important, and I think it's really important right now in this time. So I just noticed at the time, this is a 16-minute video. If you've stuck with me this whole time, rambling and through the open door and problem-solving situation, thank you, congratulations, well done. I'm going to keep diving into this book and picking out little nuggets. And the tagline is Evolution and the Challenges of Modern Life. And so we'll see where it goes. I imagine it is going to have us take a step back, look at Homo sapiens over a really broad spectrum of time, how we've shifted and adapted, how culture shifts and shapes us, how our biology shifts and shapes us, and how our environment shifts and shapes us, and what we can do with that knowledge to make strategically good decisions in the current chaos that we have right now. I think this is a really important concept right now. I think it's a really great video for you to watch and check back in. I think this series is going to be really cool, and I hope that it brings some magic into your day. Okay, take care. Bye.